Ash, you're ruthless. Ash telling Dawn, it's not my fault I have a sleeping problem. Anyway, why were you even waiting for me? As Dawn would say, I'm your best friend. I'm not just gonna watch you not get a starter. As finally, both kids make it inside the lab, but there's only one starter left in Piplup, with Ash and Dawn deciding to do rock, paper, scissors for it, with Dawn coming out on top as she gets Piplup. With Ash saying, it's not fair. Anyway, there has to be 4 trainers. There's me, Dawn, Barry, and somebody else. With the professor just saying that he does have one more starter, but Ash, if you don't want it, that's fine. As soon as I get a new suitable Pokemon for a journey, you're straight having it. With Ash saying that any Pokemon will be okay. With one of the professor and his assistants and bringing out a Pokeball. With Ash start feeling a strange pulse coming from it, he would ask if that's his new Pokemon, with the professor saying yes, but Ash, be careful. With the Pokemon coming out, it's a oddly coloured Riolu, with Ash going to greet it saying that I'm its new trainer. I'm your new trainer, so how about it, buddy? With Ash putting out his fist, with the scientist and the professor thinking that this is groundbreaking. Then, suddenly, a red Orisphere comes and slams into Ash, sending him onto the other side of the room. There being a window that gets another red Orisphere, shoot at it, with it running out, with Ash not letting the starter get away. He starts running down to down the route he just came from, going past a mini forest, then on to a lake. As with Ash telling Riolu, what's his problem? I'm only trying to be your friend. With Riolu looking back at him, charging up another Orisphere, but with Ash grabbing it and pulling her away from a ugly stretch. With Ash asking whoever this might be, trying to hurt his new start Pokemon. With Riolu taking Ash's side on this one. Then a red-headed gal comes out saying that, you have a special Pokemon there, kiddo. How about you hand it over and we won't have any problems. With Purugly getting by her side, with Ash saying, no way, this is his new starter Pokemon, as you're not gonna let I'm not gonna let you take it from me. With Ash feeling another pulse as his heart starts going, as he feels like he's being drawn to Riolu, as he can feel the distress it's feeling and scared it is. With Ash picking up Riolu, who has with the person saying, fine, guess you're gonna want to do the highway. With the red-headed girl calling for Slash. With Purugly getting in close and slashing him Riolu out of Ash's hands, slamming it against the ground. As Riolu, who were trying to go for a low sweep, but he'll get hit by a fake out. Who as Ash would say, I'm not going to let you hurt my own Pokemon. With Ash picking it up and start to run. As with both Ash, and Riolu seeing a cat-like Pokemon. You can see through it, but there is an outline. With them getting a new sound of power, turning around as Riolu and Ash will fire her with a combined Orisphere. Ash is not shooting Orisphere. Riolu shoots an Orisphere with Ash giving it kind of sort of some power to along with it, with that hurting Purugly badly, as the red-headed girl would just say, fine. With her sending out a top streak throat, and with it landing a powerful poison jab and toxic combo. Who as with Ash knowing that I need to get Riolu some help, or it might suffer some consequences. With Ash running as fast as he can, trying to get Riolu some help. With Ash yelling on the top of his guns and zigzagging him all the way to the professor's house as he loses his balance. He trips over something with a poison jab going right to his neck. With Ash thinking he couldn't even get a starter Pokemon to like him. As with Ash shutting his eyes as he hears something like electrocution, with a shins being right there as it looks exhausted, seeing that it's used pretty much all its electricity. With Ash throwing a Pokeball, adding it to his team as he'll rush back to the professors. Barging down Professor Robinson, tell him everything as he hands over the Pokeballs containing Shinx and Riolu, who as Ash can't stop telling him everything about the story, as Professor Robin would just say, interesting, how somebody like you, Ash, is very special. You got the trust of Riolu, who in a few minutes you could feel him. You met a legendary Lake Guardian. I'm pretty sure that's what they're called. You fought Team Galactic. Ash, you will make for a great champion one day. I just know it. With Ash smiling at that, cheering him up after that frightening first hour of his life of being a Pokemon trainer. Dawn will come back in a few minutes after that, telling that she met another Lake Guardian just like Ash. As Ash and Dawn would just set out on their journeys together, seeing that there's no really reason to not travel until if both of them don't want to do it anymore, or they want to go for separate paths. So the next few routes doesn't contain much until they found the Baneri. Ash wanting to catch it, but Dawn already sending out her Piplup and lowering its HP enough. Dawn throws a Pokeball, catching it. So when they get to Jubilife City, Ash puts himself into the sinnoh gym challenge as Dawn will book herself in him for the contest. As Ash decides to book himself in the contest as well, as Shinx and Riolu could like it, with all of them deciding to do some practicing, with Riolu quite liking it, as Ash can feel its emotion into happiness. So when the first contest goes, Dawn gets into the first round done, and just barely squeaks by. As the next round, Dawn will be able to get into the finals, as Ash seeing it more like a battle inside. He doesn't really focus on the contest side of the thing, so he fails. As Dawn will go up against a girl named Zoe, as she will be able to get her first ribbon, with Dawn being a little bit cocky about it, as Ash will just say to her that he will get this gym badge on his first attempt, just how she got her first contest ribbon. As Dawn would just laugh and say, I really doubt that, Ash. With Ash and Dawn making their way onto the next route, as that's where they see a boy catching all three Starlies, then release two of them. As Ash would say, why did you release the other two Starlies? As the boy would just say, they're useless to me. As he'll just walk off. is wanting to challenge him to a Pokemon battle. Can't, because Dom would just say, leave him alone. He's a worthless trainer anyway. As Ash will nod his head in agreement, as they make their way into a rocky tunnel. As that's when Ash will find a wild Gible, who, as it bites onto his head for a laugh, as his Riolu, seeing that Ash is in trouble, it shoots off a reddish aura sphere at it, able to knock it off of Ash's head. With Ash crawling back as the little Pokemon was trying to do the same thing to Ash again, but her Riolu will throw one of Ash's Pokeballs, catching it, bringing Ash's team to 3, as he will make his way into the Pokemon Center in the next town, as that's when he finds that boy pushing a Chimchar past its limits until its blade starts activating, and as Ash will want to see if he wants some help, but Chimchar's going on a berserk rampage, as the boy would tell his Electabuzz to use a fully powered thunder at Chimchar. With that knocking out Chimchar, as all he would do is give it a revive, as Ash is really mad at Paul, seeing that he treats his Pokemon with no respect. When they need healed, he does the bare minimum, as he wants to go up and punch him in the face. After a little argument, they settle on a 3-on-3 battle, with Paul fully healing his Pokemon, as he starts off the battle with a Murkrow. Who giving a mighty chirp, as Ash, as he isn't thinking about what Pokemon he sends out, so Riolu comes out. Riolu giving Ash a fist bump on the way out, who it gets hit by a powerful Night Slash, bringing it to one knee, as Ash thinking this trainer's strong, as Ash will call for a Quick Attack rushing in and then kicking in Murkrow, who right in its stomach is able to put it to the ground, as Ash will call for Aura Sphere, as Aura Sphere will connect, leaving around a reddish dust, blinding Murkrow, as Ash will take that opportunity here to set up a focus energy here, as when Murkrow will try to rush in him with a pluck, Ash will call for a Quick Attack, knocking out Murkrow. With Paul returning, here Murkrow calling it pathetic, as he'll send out his next Pokemon, Electabuzz. With Ash telling Riolu to use a Aura Sphere to try and keep its distance. Paul, knowing that just one thunder, not even fully powered, could knock out Riolu, he tells who's Electabuzz to rush him with a Thunder Punch, and just Thunder Punch will connect, as Ash will call for Aura Sphere, with Ash feeling the emotions of Riolu, as its body and colours will start to change. It's already too late, it's already been knocked out by a thunder, as Ash will wonder, it wasn't an evolution because there wasn't a bright light. So what was that? He questioned to himself, but he decides to carry on the battle by sending out his Shinx. Shinx giving Ash a mighty yelp in excitement, as he'll call for a Quick Attack. Quick Attack connects, hits as Paul, who will notice that its ability is Intimidate. As Paul will command his Electabuzz to use a Brick Break. Brick Break connects, and it's leaving Shinx on its last legs. As he calls for fully powered thunder, but this is where the evolution starts to happen. Its body starts to change with a bigger yelp, who yells out its name, Luxio, as Luxio learned the new move, Crunch. Crunch biting down on Electabuzz's arms as his Paul, who would just demand another Thunder. With Thunder charging up, Ash will call for a quick attack, not onto Electabuzz, but to him. As with a Thunder coming in close, he calls for it to use a quick attack. As quick attack is able to outspeed the Thunder, land right into her Electabuzz, with Ash barely dodging the Thunder, leaving a crater into the ground where he last stood. As Ash is even more angry that could happen to his Pokemon, he calls for another Crunch, as his Paul will just say, "Why aren't you using an electric type attack, eh?" As Ash thinking about why does he want that to happen, as he calls for Spark connecting, as that just boosts up Electabuzz, then one more Brick Break able to knock it out, as Ash realising what he wanted that Spark for her. So Ash will send out Gible giving Ash a mighty Gible, who as he'll call for Dig to start off the battle, with Paul knowing that his last two Pokemon aren't the best choice. He decides to call for Charge, just to charge up its energy. As when Dibble comes out, Paul commands for a Ice Punch, as Ash will call for Crunch connecting him onto Electabuzz's arm, as Ash will call for Bulldoze connecting, knocking out Electabuzz, with Chimchar coming out, as Ash will immediately call for Bulldoze, not wanting to hurt the already hurt Chimchar, as it's already starting to build up its blaze, as Ash will call for her Gible signature move, Draco Meteor, with Draco Meteor connecting barely, I should say, with Chimchar lying on the ground, as one word comes out of Paul, Pathetic. With that, her Chimchar's tail flare starts to grow in size into a mighty yell comes out of Chimchar, with Paul finally getting a smile on his face as he'll call for Stretch, but the blazing chimp monkey would only go for Ember, knocking out Gible, as his Paul would just send out his Gastrodon and Torterra to both use an Earthquake, knocking out Chimchar, as with Paul saying to Ash, Hursva, how about you actually train your Pokemon good? With that pushes Ash over his limits. It's with Paul, who as he makes his way inside the Pokemon Center to heal. As for the next few days, it's all about training, and in this time he doesn't want to watch Paul battle Rock, because already that the thing he said about Chimchar already pushes us over his limits, and Dawn, and as she is working on something called the Spin Dodge. When Ash teaches him that to his Pokemon, he walks inside the gym, where Rock is, as Ash will call for a 3-on-3 battle with Rock, as like he said to Dawn a few days ago, he will win this battle, as with Graveler coming out, with Ash calling for his Luxio, as he'll call for a Crunch, with Crunch connecting him onto Graveler, as Graveler will set up a Stealth Rock, with Ash calling for a Quick Attack towards him, As Lucio would agree, as when the rocks will come towards his side of her pitch, with Ash who's telling him for Lucio to use Swift, one of its newly learned moves thanks to Dawn. Alright, I'm going to go over Lucio's moveset because it might be a little confusing. Thunderbolt, Swift, Crunch, Quick Attack. As it wasn't able to destroy either Stealth Rocks but send it to Gravel's side of the pitch. But during that time, it was using Magnitude 9. It was able to put down Lucio, as Ash will call for his Gible. With Gible, who biting onto Ash's head, as when Gravel was trying to go for another Stealth Rock, her Ash calling for Draco Meteor, wanted to destroy her Stealth Rocks, what was sending towards his side of the battlefield to make a crater. That crater, he doesn't know how he'll use it yet. It's as with that Draco Meteor being far off, with Rock saying that if Ash wants to be a good trainer, he should actually train his Pokemon. Not to be rude, bring an electric type into a gym mostly filled with ground types. Hoops a Pokemon with its best move missing by a lot, then your third Pokemon, which you haven't even sent out yet. With Ash has been enraged by Rock's comments, as the words what Paul said about Chimchar burns in his head, as Ash will call for Dig and completely ignoring Rock, as his Rock were able to set up a Stealth Rock on his side of the pitch as Ash will call for Draco Meteor underground. With that, Rock side of the battlefield becomes one big crater. As that crater what Ash created, it's now just a part of that bigger crater. With that, Rock gets an idea. Graveler, get on the other side of the battlefield, who with Gible who are about to come out the ground, as it starts racing in towards Graveler. When it's finally get into distance, it comes out then with Ash calling for Draco Meteor, with that knocking out both Pokemon. As Ash knows he has to trust his Riolu to go for two of Rock's Pokemon, as Ash would believe in his partner, as what Rock would send out next is a Shilgon. Shilgon shooting out a flash cannon up into the sky, with Ash is calling him for his Riolu to go for a low sweep. Low sweep connecting him, as that was already putting in Shilgon on its last legs, has been 4 times effective, with Rock calling for Iron Defense Flash Cannon, with Ash calling for Spin Dodge, the only perfected one he could get, as with that it would leave it will be able to leave Shilgon open to a Brick Break, knocking it out, with Rock sending out his right Craniodose, the evolved version of Craniodose. So I'm so sorry, with it already gone for Flamethrower. With Ash calling for Dodge, as he'll call for a Aura Sphere, as Aura Sphere connects, it's hurting the Rock's main Pokemon, and as the two Pokemon go head to head, Zen Headbutts, Brick Breaks, Bullet Punches, Force Energies, Rock Slides, every single move what they have, they throw it at each other. Then both Pokemon will look at each other, then fall, with Rock giving Ash the badge. But I didn't win it. But Rock would just say, even if you didn't, you still deserve it. you gave it your all, and I'm sorry about what I said. Her team really do deserve it.